Hey everybody, this is Dave Nasty with NextLevelGuitar.com, and what we're going to talk about today is mapping out the diminished arpeggio, and we'll talk about some basic sweep motions that we could do with it, but more importantly, we want to get outside of what is typically done with our diminished arpeggio. So what we're going to talk about today is playing diminished, and we're going to play an F sharp diminished. That's going to put us diatonic to the key of G, and later on as we go through the lesson, we'll talk about where we can put these licks in our progressions of no matter what style we're playing, but more commonly what we're going to do in a rock context with this diminished arpeggio. If you click on that link below that you see in the YouTube text box and you would like a free video lesson that is not available on YouTube, and as well you get a free ebook that has over 21 diagram scale shapes, go ahead and click on that link below that you see in the YouTube text box. Traditionally what you'll see is what I started off playing here in the very beginning. I'm going to pull off here with a downstroke from my F sharp to my E flat. I have my C on an upstroke, I have my A on an upstroke, and then I'm turning the sweep arpeggio around, going a different direction with a downstroke on my first finger on that F sharp note and ascending in the shape. Down. So when you play that example slowly, I'll call off the picking that we're doing with our right hand, and of course, anytime we're talking about sweep picking, what we want to be conscious of is that gliding motion that happens with your right hand as you're playing across the strings, right? And we want to be really smooth with it. In this case, I'm not tilting my pick as I often do when I'm doing typical alternate picking. I'm keeping a nice flat surface of the pick, focusing on the very tip of the pick and just gliding straight across the strings. So I'm going to start with a downstroke, pull off, up, up, downstroke with a hammer on. From there, since I've initiated my sequence to start it with a down, I'm going to continue an upstroke motion, and that's going to keep me going in this direction, returning off that F sharp and working in a downward motion. Slowly the lick sounds like this. Alright, so let's take this arpeggio and just not move it in minor thirds around the guitar, right? And a minor third is a really easy way to say I'm just moving 3 frets on the guitar playing the exact same shape. And that's really common when you do these diminished arpeggios. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start all the way over here with my C note on my index finger, 8th position, and we're going to map out a different outline that is going to ultimately lead us up to where we've just started, okay? So what we're doing here is I'm playing with an upstroke on my right hand, I'm playing the C note on the 8th fret, and I'm going to then go to my E flat with my pinky on the 6th string here, and that E flat of course is on the 11th fret. So I have really simple F sharp with a downstroke on the 5th string, then I have my A to my C, so that gives me this. Really cool diminished tonality and completely different than what we've just done before, where we're just playing on the first 3 strings, right? So we're going to work our way up to those top strings, again starting with our C, and let's just talk about that in itself. That's a cool lick all by itself, and you could take it and play it really slowly, focus on the motion of your right hand, and work that up to speed. So let's do just that. We're going to start with an upstroke on our C, hammer to our E flat, down on F sharp, downstroke on A, upstroke for my pull off from C back to A. I'm going to palm mute a little bit to control the string tone. It's kind of crazy because you get some wild movement with your hand to get out of the way of some of these notes. And what you want to be conscious of is your thumb positioning in the back of the fretboard, right? We want to make sure that we're arching our fingers to stay on the tips of them as best we can so we don't rub any of those other strings. We have a pretty heavy distorted tone and you don't want to cause any overring of some of these other notes that may occur by doing so. So you have... Another thing to do, which is really cool, is straight ascend. And when you do that, that's really a quick motion, and we're going to take that and we'll move it through the shape as well. So what I do to pull that off is, again, I start with an upstroke from my C, I go down, down, one last last upstroke there on that C note, and I'm just stopping on that note altogether. Cool way to play our diminished sweep shape, right? So then what we're going to do is we're going to shift up 1/2 step, start from our 5th string, start on our F sharp this time, hammer up to A, get C here with our middle finger, first finger is going to extend and grab E flat, then we have F sharp. Coincidentally, the same fingering and same shape, 1/2 step up from the previous one. So when you put those two together, right, really slowly. One thing that is cool that I can mention with this, when we were playing this lick in the beginning to start with, we move that in minor thirds. You can move any section of this arpeggio into minor third shapes as well, and you're extending some different positions and some different visualization of this particular arpeggio all across the fretboard. So, mustn't forget that. That's really, really important. Resuming where we are here, we have this to start. Now we finally get into a bit of a different fingering. We're going to start with our C note with our index finger. Hammer, of course this is still starting with an upstroke, hammer to E flat, which is going to be on our 13th fret, 4th string. Hitting F sharp there with our middle finger. Downstroke on our 10th fret to grab, in this case is going to be our A note, and then I got my C here with my pinky on the 13th fret. Another shape that is really, really cool to do and move around in minor thirds when we connect this together. Now we finally arrived at our original position where we start with our F sharp on our G string with our index finger. Alright, so let's connect all these ideas together, right? Remember what we're doing is we're moving in different inversions throughout this arpeggio. Inversion is just a fancy way to say we're starting from a different note within that arpeggio, and we're going to focus on just the ascending motion so we get that really quick whippy sweep to our arpeggio. And again, we started on C for the first one, then we had F sharp for the next one, then we started on C, and then we started on F sharp. When you put that together, it's a really, really nice way to map out these arpeggios and play them a bit different than you normally see people playing them today. Alright everybody, so you might be saying to yourself, when am I going to put a diminished sweep arpeggio into my playing and I'm going to incorporate it into my progression? Well, for example, we are diatonic to the key of G, or we're in E minor. We're playing an F sharp diminished, right? So really, really easy. What I like to do when I'm showing people these sweeps is just go ahead and incorporate this into a very simple pentatonic type lick over E that of course could be represented using your relative minor in any kind of classic rock fashion. Say if we're having anything chugging off of our E. Right? Very, very common rhythm and tone that is played within this style of music, and that is a perfect time for you to insert this arpeggio and make it work, and you can resolve it by just landing right back into your pentatonic scale because these positions exist right next to each other. So an example would be this. Say I'm taking this part of my sweep and I want to give some resolution to it, right into E minor. Right, and we can put a nice lick on top of it to kind of make sure that we give some resolution to everything. So again, example would be I hit my E, just to hear it in context, I have my sweep, into my lick. Always functional. Anytime you want to put these things into your playing, think of it as if you're working off your relative minor. You have your pentatonic shape, and you can mix these two ideas together and just get you outside the box to do something different in your rock playing. So another thing that you can do with this, and please keep it in mind, these shapes, all of them, work by just very simply moving them in 3 fret increments. So let's check it out. We take our first one, 3 frets higher, 3 frets higher. How cool is that? We're just taking the very first shape and we're moving it up the fretboard in minor thirds. Technical way of saying we're just moving in 3 frets, and you can incorporate this into any one of these shapes to expand on it. It's one of the better qualities of the diminished sweep arpeggio, and you can really expand your playing and get across that fretboard. All right, everybody, this is Dave Nasty with nextlevelguitar.com. Again, please feel free to check out our website. There are over 850 various guitar lessons covering all styles and techniques, and you really can't beat it for in-home instruction.